I reviewed the Night by Noble, the Rivera bifocal ink, the Osawa bifocal ink, the STL plastic, and I even have the Korean Night by Noble. I thought I was done reviewing plastic Alto C ocarinas, but another one has entered the fray. Today, we have the Miracle M plastic ocarina in Alto C, available on Amazon. This is the box the ocarina comes in. It seems to be from a Korean company right there. It says like Moto or Mojo Ocarina with a K. That indicates that it is a Japanese or Korean company, because if you're translating the sound of ocarina from Hangul or katakana to English, it'll be a K in Hangul or katakana, not a C, therefore ocarina with a K. If you ever see things that are misspelled with a K, that would explain why. Inside the box, we have a little user manual, which has like how to attach a neck strap to the ocarina, and the full scale, including chromatic notes for the ocarina. Next, there's the ocarina itself with a nice little ocarina-shaped indentation of cardboard to reduce rattling and damage in transit, which I think is really nice. And then there is a little pouch, and I flung it out and pulled it back in, but there's also a neck strap right here. The ocarina comes in ivory and purple and is a fully chromatic 12-hole Alto C. This means a range of A4 to F6, which is an octave plus 5. This ocarina is only $21 on Amazon, and considering the contents of the box and you get an ocarina, that could be a good deal. But let's make sure this ocarina is worthwhile first. I think the ocarina is currently unavailable on Amazon. I actually think I bought the very last one, because I bought the purple one last year, never got around to reviewing it, and then I bought the ivory one because I saw a review saying it was out of tune and I wanted to have redundancy to double check that. But I purchased both the purple and the ivory for $21 each. Same contents in both boxes, the ocarinas were just different colors. But is this $21 ocarina even worth buying? Let's see how it sounds and stack it up against the Night by Noble, which is the most popular and highest recommended plastic ocarina on Amazon thus far. Will the Noble be dethroned? Whoa, that's pretty good. Now I'll do the same on the Night by Noble. All right, hopefully I recorded enough comparisons. This ocarina is surprisingly good for how inexpensive it is. It has an intuitive breath curve where every note you just blow a little bit more to stay in tune as you go up the scale, and it is on the higher side of medium with breath pressure, but only a little over medium. Whereas the Night by Noble is almost low breath pressure, I would say. In fact, I would say breath pressure on the high side of medium is actually ideal for beginner ocarinists. This is because because lower breath pressure ocarinas require far more precise airflow to stay in tune as you ascend or descend a scale, especially with larger intervals. Higher breath pressure ocarinas require less precision and are thus a bit more beginner friendly. But if it's too high, a lot of beginner wind instrument players cannot even produce enough air. Therefore, the high end of medium, I would say, is actually the sweet spot for beginners, and that's right where this ocarina is. Otherwise, I have no problems whatsoever with this ocarina. It has a really nice tone, it has really easy ergonomics. There are indentations over the subholes, which make it easier to place your fingers properly to cover them, which is great for beginners as well. This ocarina is comfortable to hold, but it is a bit of a strong angle on my wrist, which might get tiresome after extended play, whereas the Knight by Noble is a little bit more gentle to hold. But this ocarina is really good for $21. I would say it's actually fantastic for $21, and my only issues with it are that of personal preference. The finish on the plastic is a little rubbery, but that might be a result of their eco-friendly plastic practices that they do. It's on their label, I don't know the details of that. And I also prefer split subholes like the Knight by Noble, where there's one subhole for each hand, whereas the Magic M ocarina has both subholes on one hand, which is quite typical for Korean ocarinas because the Korean Knight by Noble also has same hand subholes. Another thing worth noting is that most plastic ocarinas tend to have some sacrifice or issue with the very highest notes. Sometimes they're airy, sometimes you have to pull back on your breath to keep them in tune. This one I don't think has any sacrifices. On the Knight by Noble, if I overblow the high F, it'll squeak and break the tune. I don't like that. That's not great for beginners to hear when they're playing. The Miracle M, not Magic M, the Miracle M, on the other hand, it just gets a little sharp if you overblow on the high F. And it's not airy either unless you really overblow. It just kind of fades away if you overblow, which I think that's great. That's much less punishing than a loud squeak. Last, here's a little showcase for advanced players who use the Milt technique. I don't know the actual technique other than the Milt technique to extend the range of their alto C to the high G and sometimes high A above the F. Quick notes comparing the Miracle M to the Knight by Noble on the Milt technique. When you're playing the G and A above the F using the silly little technique where you make an extra chamber with your hands, I don't know how the physics work still. You do need to blow more. For the Knight by Noble, considering it squeaks when you overblow on the high F, this makes playing the Milt technique actually a little bit difficult. Doable, but a little difficult. See the squeaking? On the other hand, with the Miracle M, considering that it does not squeak when you overblow the high F, that actually makes it a little bit better for playing the Milt technique. And most ocarinas I own, I can only get a consistent G above the F. Both the Knight by Noble and the Miracle M, I could get the consistent A as well using a specific hand thing where I used my right hand and covered the 4 holes on the right hand, and that put me in the right position. I don't know how it works, but on both these ocarinas, that lets me get a consistent high A above the F. So I guess this has an effective range of an octave plus 7 because you're getting not just up to F6, but also G6 and A6. And that's if you do the Milt technique. But that's not a beginner technique. But everything else about this ocarina, I think this is actually the very best ocarina for beginners on the market right now, if it's available. When I bought my first one in November of last year, the ivories were completely sold out, so I bought the purple even though I wanted the ivory more. And then when I checked the other day to buy an ivory to have parity, to have both in my review arsenal, the ivory only had one left and the purple was completely out of stock. This ocarina seems to be pretty popular on Amazon right now, but considering the price, the really good sound quality, the intuitive breath curve, and the medium to high-ish breath pressure, this may be the very best ocarina for beginners on the market right now, if it's available. But would I recommend it for you? Funnily enough, the Miracle M was actually first recommended to me by David Ramos. Normally, I'd be very hesitant to buy any ocarina that's below $30 on Amazon, especially if it's by a company I've never heard of like Miracle M. The Night by Noble and Bravura are both a little over $30, so I think, that's a little fishy. However, David said the Miracle M was both more affordable and easier for beginners to play than the Night by Noble. I don't know if I can say that the Miracle M ocarina is objectively better than the Night by Noble in a broad sense, but I think I agree with David that the Miracle M is indeed better for beginners to learn the instrument on. It's comparably easier to play, has fewer little quirks like the squeaking high F, and has a significantly lower price of $21 versus typically $35. The Night by Noble is my personal favorite plastic ocarina still. I'm not unrecommending it. Those of you who have bought a Night by Noble based off of my recommendation, I still stand by that recommendation, don't worry. I think the Night by Noble may have a slightly higher quality ceiling when it comes to its tone and sound compared to the Miracle M, but so many things about the Miracle M make it so much more user-friendly for someone who's picking up the ocarina for the first time. And it's still a really good instrument. And my preference for the Night by Noble simply may be because it's probably the single ocarina that I have played the most in my entire life. I take this ocarina everywhere. Every trip I go on, the Night by Noble is with me. So I've probably played the Night by Noble more than all of my other ocarinas. Thus, I'm definitely most comfortable with the Night by Noble compared to any other ocarina. But considering how quickly I was able to play this one pretty well, and how quickly I figured out advanced techniques on the Miracle M, this may be a contender to go in my bag. I also really like the white. I'm wearing black to contrast the white. But the specific reasons why I think the Night by Noble is not perfect for beginners anymore. While I still wholeheartedly recommend the Night by Noble as an ocarina, here's why I would say it is inferior to the Miracle M when it comes to specifically beginners. The Night by Noble has quite low breath pressure requirements, which means 1, it's very easy to play sharp. 2, you need to be very precise with your airflow as you're playing it, and new players typically don't have that precision trained yet. Second, it's actually tuned to be a little bit higher than other Alto C ocarinas so that it has low breath pressure. The typical market for Night by Nobles is in Japan and South Korea, which is very dense living with very paper thin walls. So people who play the ocarina tend to want one that they can blow softly into to make less loud of a noise and still play in tune. If A is 440 typically, the Night by Nobles like A is 441 or 442 or something like that in a vacuum, but that means you could underblow the Night by Noble and still be in tune on an objective basis. Additionally, the breath curve for the Night by Noble is a little strange. With the Miracle M, as you ascend the scale, you keep blowing a little bit more to stay in tune on higher notes. With the Night by Noble, on the very highest notes, specifically the F, you actually have to blow a little bit less to stay in tune and to not squeak. The breath curve kind of goes up, 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 flat, 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 and then a little dip down. Whereas for the Miracle M, it just goes up, 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 up in a linear manner. That is, the up, the x-axis is the note you're playing, the y-axis is the amount of air you need. I'll make a separate video in the next couple weeks about breath curves because I talk about them all the time. That's a topic that hasn't been covered yet, I don't think. So considering the drawbacks that I just mentioned with the Night by Noble for beginners, I still think it is an amazing ocarina. It is well tuned, it has extremely good sound, I really love the finish. It feels very professional. I love the Night by Noble. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not necessarily the best ocarina for someone who's never played the ocarina before. Whereas the Miracle M, I think it's perfect for someone who's never played the ocarina before. But Andy, On the Amazon page for the Miracle M, there's a bad review saying it's in really bad tune. That's why I bought 2. My channel is built off of doubting underpriced ocarinas like the $15 to $25 Ocarina of Time replicas that have no tuning whatsoever that you see on Amazon. So naturally, even with David's recommendation, I was skeptical about this ocarina. And that skepticism wasn't entirely unfounded, because on the Amazon page, there is a 1-star review of somebody playing the ocarina, and it sounds horrible and out of tune, and they're playing it against a tuner. However, it also kind of sounds like that the person's not playing the ocarina particularly well. I'm not going to show you the review because I don't want to put that person on blast, but that review has a lot of people citing it as helpful. So to make sure that I didn't just get one nice ocarina that was in tune and played well, I got 2. And guess what? Let's see how they sound compared to each other. We'll do a blind listen and I'll tell you which is which. All right, which one was Ocarina A and which was Ocarina B? The ivory one was Ocarina A, and the purple one was Ocarina B. They're both good. The white one actually shipped in for me today, and I was practicing on the purple one for like half an hour this morning, and it played just as well as the white one that I did the review on. So the moral of the story is that both of these ocarinas are equally good, so I think they probably have pretty good quality control, but 2 is a small sample size. So to the person who left a bad review, it may actually literally be a skill issue. The only 2 explanations I have for that review is that it's either an awful model that's way out of their typical quality control, or skill issue. It did not sound like they were an experienced ocarina player. While it's certainly possible that there may be a risk of getting a very low quality ocarina when you purchase the Miracle M, chances are it'll probably be just as good as the ones that I got. And worst case, if they do in fact occasionally send out duds, Amazon has a 30-day return policy, so you can hedge your risk against a low-quality instrument by just returning it if it's bad, and buy another one, or a different brand. Buy a Knight by Noble, buy a Bravura from Songbird using code Andy10. The world is your oyster. There's so many amazing plastic ocarinas on the market, but this one might be the very best for beginners considering it's only $21 and you're getting such a high level of quality out of it. Also, hedge your risk. Look at me throwing out terms I'm learning in my MBA coursework. Here's who I would not recommend the Miracle M ocarina for. If you already have a plastic ocarina that you like in the key of Alto C, there's no need to get another one. If you like the plastic ocarina you have, chances are it's just as good in terms of quality sealing, and if you're more comfortable with it, then chances are you'll play it better. If I were at equal comfort levels with the Miracle M and the Knight by Noble, I might play the Miracle M better, but I'm most comfortable with the Knight by Noble. So if you already have a plastic Alto C ocarina that you like, you don't need another one. Don't be a rampant consumer. Consumer? I hardly know her. However, here are the people who I would recommend the Miracle M ocarina to. First, if you bought a Knight by Noble and you dislike the breath curve or the risk of squeaking, maybe replace it with a Miracle M. Second, if you already play the ocarina but don't own a plastic one yet, this may be a perfect option for affordability. I think everyone should have a plastic ocarina because they are indestructible, which means you can take them on trips and not worry about them breaking. And last, if this is your very first ocarina ever, I think the Miracle M is by far the best choice you can make for your very first instrument. But that opinion is contingent on the price staying so low. In terms of cost performance of quality per dollar, this takes the cake. But if it goes up to above $30, I'd probably recommend the Bravura just as well, and the Knight by Noble second. All in all, the Miracle M is a fantastic ocarina for beginners, especially at the price of $21. And maybe it's right for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this ocarina in the comments. And if you want to buy this ocarina on Amazon, I will have a link in the description. Any purchases made through my Amazon affiliate links help support the channel, so please just click the link, even if you're not gonna buy anything. Finally, thank you to my patrons, Joshua and Logan. You can support me for just $1 a month at patreon.com/Andy Cormier to help fund ocarina education and the other stuff that I do. I hit my mic arm. Otherwise, press those good YouTube buttons and I'll see you later. Happy tootin'.